here we are at Ruffram Apiary, and it's now time to think about preparing the bees for the winter. The hives have had all the supers taken off and the honey's extracted, and now this hive, which is quite a well populated hive, is down to the bare essentials of a brood box and their own super. So what we're going to do today is to start the treatment. Okay, so first thing we have to do is to swap the brood chamber and the super around. We call that under supering, and the idea is that it raises the brood chamber off the floor a bit. The honey that's stored in their super goes underneath, and over the course of the winter the bees will move those supplies up, and then in the spring you'll end up with a nice empty super, all clean, ready to go back on the top. Bearing in mind, remember always to take the queen excluder off at this point, because the queen needs to be able to go with the rest of the bees and not be isolated. So we're going to start off a quick smoke, just to let them know we're coming. And remove the roof. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to take the super off first of all and put it down, and then we're going to remove the brood chamber and swap them around. Right, so cracking open this top one, giving them a little bit of smoke in there, lift the super up and pop it here on the, I'm putting it on this egg over here because the queen is down here and I don't want her to fall off into the grass. So we're going to take the queen excluder off when I put the whole thing back together again, because I know she's contained in there. So here comes the rain. We're being bombarded with rain and the spray from the irrigation, which is keeping the bees guessing. Right, so there's the moved over. Right, check that she's not on the floor there, that we're not going to squidge her when we put this back. So now we're going to put this super back on very carefully so that we don't squidge any bees, and we're leaving the entrance block in deliberately. Crack the top off here, hold that there for the moment, and now we can put the brood chamber back on. Checking for stores at this point, just to see how much stores they have got in their super, which they've got some in the middle, but I could feel there was quite a weight in it, but not a terrific amount. There, that's all nicely capped, so they've got plenty of stores, certainly to last them for the whole time that they're being treated. Right, and now remember we're taking the queen excluder off. And that can then go and be cleaned through the winter. Okay, so here we got the bees, brood chamber up at the top, and we're ready to treat. Now, another thing you need to do is to put the hive insert in, so it's going to make it a very tight finish down there, so that we can observe what the Varroa drop is like, but also to keep the fumes in a little bit. I'm assured by the people who make Apiguard that in this country you can leave the entrance blocks in without any problem. If the temperature is going to get up to 38 or 39 or 40, then you take them out, but in this country you can just leave them in, and that helps with the wasp problem. Right, so for this process we're going to use Apiguard, which is very safe for the beekeeper and safe for the bees, and we're going to use this gel and pop it on here, and the idea is that the bees will remove it, trample it around the hive in their efforts to get rid of it. Now you do need to have quite a bit of ventilation on the top, and what is suggested is that you have an eek. We always used to say just have either a 1-inch eek or a 2-inch eek, or even a bigger one, so that you can feed at the same time. But Vita, who make Apiguard, are now suggesting that you put a super on the top. And I'll put this around it afterwards, because otherwise you're not going to see what I'm doing. Right, so we've got this Apiguard here, and we're going to open it 3/4 of the way, like that, and pop this. You may be able to hear a difference in the tone of the bees, and you put it towards the back in the centre, so that the bees will come up. They won't like this smell, not that it's going to do them any harm, and it's a gritty gel, and they pick it up and they transport it around. Right, so we're going to put the super on the top and leave that, then put the crown board back on and leave them. Now at this stage, with no honey flow coming in, they're not likely to make any brace comb filling the box. And so we just then put the crown board back on and leave it. And then that hive will now be left for 2 weeks like that. And the fumes will go down. The idea of the big box is that the Apiguard works by contact, but also by the vapour, which kills off, it destroys the cuticle of the varroa mite. Coming back 2 weeks later, we will come back and we may find, we'll open it up, they're still very calm and accepting of what's going on to them, these bees. And we may find that the tray is totally empty. We may find it's got a little bit left in it. Certainly it won't all be there. It may even be a little bit dried up. That doesn't matter at all. You just leave that, you just push that to one side a little bit, and then you open up another one. Open up another tray and put that alongside it. And then you close it up just the same and leave it for another 2 weeks. And then that's all there is to it. It's very, very simple and straightforward. If we were concerned that these bees didn't have enough food at the start, what we would have done, which is what we're going to do on the next one, we would have fed them first before we started treating. Whack a gallon of syrup on there so they can fill it up and they've got enough food to last them for the whole time. As it is, these have got plenty in their super, and they've got plenty in the brood nest to be going on with. The reason you don't feed them at the same time as you're treating is because they will think that if they feed, they can ignore the smell and they won't go around traipsing around, and you don't get the efficiency of the kill of the varroa mites. So concentrate on feeding. Sometimes it puts them off feeding, but as often as not, after the first couple of days, they get used to the smell and they think, oh good, there's food, we'll ignore all that smelly stuff. So you don't want to put food on unless it's absolutely necessary. If by the end of the first 2 weeks they are incredibly light, have gone very light and no food, then you can just whack a quick couple of pints, 4 pints of syrup on just overnight before you put the next tray on. Leave the trays on, but put the feeder on and give them a quick feed before you start the next one. But ideally they should have enough here to last them the 4 to 6 weeks. When you come back, then you will need to take the super off and the empty Apiguard trays, and then just check through to make sure everything is well, that the queen is there. and she started laying again. This apigard will probably put her off lay for a week or two, but she will come back in. But you just need to check that she's there and everything's fine, and then you just close the hive up and feed. And just feed and feed and feed until the hive is so heavy that you just can't lift it off the ground. So that's the procedure.